It's on LinkedIn as well. MG report. What to expect in 2024. What's up, William Newley?
Yeah, doing good. Doing good, Brett.
All right, man. I'm really excited today. This is our second edition of the MG report. Yeah. And this time we both have three big points on what to expect in 2024. I think in our last episode, we were giving some tips on what to expect for the rest of 2023. So good for us to get together here at the end of the year and think about what's ahead for 2024. Sure. I'm hoping you're going to like my three items.
Let's see what they are.
All right. I want to start off just talking a quick update on MG. Of course, you're going to enjoy that. But wow, it's been an amazing 2023, and the numbers just keep accelerating. So November for us is looking like almost double what we were pre-pandemic. So really out in front.
Yeah. I mean, it's phenomenal, really. Throughout the year, things just got better and better. So adding more clients, adding more hotels, more partners.
We're going to talk some about recovery, but you've been doing a great job on the demand side and growing our footprint. Why don't you talk some about that?
Yeah, well, now we're up to 34 countries where we have demand partners. Of course, some we have more compared to others, but we have a big focus now on India, China, Middle East, because Southeast Asia is a big destination for these markets. So we're looking to grow the footprint, but also go deeper into those markets that have the bigger volumes.
It's really an amazing story going from an Indonesian focused company to now really beginning to be Southeast Asia's leader and more so a global organization. So amazing progress there, Will. So let's talk about 2024 and what to expect. I'm going to start out with my three items first, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
All right. 2024, what to expect. Number one for me is the topic we were just on, which is the recovery. And I think us talking about the recovery, this is a thing of the past. The recovery is history. 2023 is going to be the last year that people use this comparison to 2019, keep talking about pre-COVID and where are we at now versus then. So the recovery is going to be officially retired. Goodbye 2019 comparisons.
Yeah. I mean, at the beginning of the year, we hear a lot of everybody talking about compared to 2019, right? Now, less so. I think, as you say, by next year, people are going to be saying last year, which is what we always used to do, isn't it?
I hope so.
Compare the business to last year.
Yeah, and we are where we are, and comparing to 2019 really is no longer meaningful. We need to think about where we are today and how that compares to where we were last year is a much better benchmark. So I wanted to give kind of two indications for that support that are data oriented. First is, looking at global room demand, have some data here from STR talking about room demand strengthening, and it's looking at the occupancy levels over time. And you can really see here as you come into the second half of 2023 that those levels are demand versus 2019, the demand is really settling in. You're no longer seeing this fast up into the right curve, right? The curve is beginning to mellow out, and you're really beginning to see a flattening of demand globally. And then if you look at ADRs, also another good indication here, the yellow is the nominal ADR, but the blue is adjusted for inflation. You can really see ADRs also over the last few months beginning to flatten out. So I think kind of the combination of looking at global hotel demand, looking at what's happening with ADRs, we can really see that this kind of up into the right recovery trajectory. This is over, and we're really down back to normal state.
Yeah, I mean, it's done. We're now in a normal situation. So growth will not be revenge travel. Growth will be just incremental travel, incremental as hotels open, as flights come on board. Of course, there are other ways to win share, right? You can win share of the wallet in terms of the market.
Well, that's a great lead in. That's a great lead into my point number two. I'm going to go on to number two, fight for growth. So if the recovery is over, you can't just take rising tide, lifts all boats. If you want to grow, you're going to have to be fighting with someone else to take share of wallet.
Yeah, correct.
So that the overall market growth number is going to be more normalized, a single-digit percent. And if you're looking for that double-digit growth like we've seen over the past few years, you have to fight it out with other competitors.
Yeah, or expand new geographies, new products, this kind of thing, right?
So let's look at some data on this. I mean, people talk about flight capacity coming back, but here we are at the end of 2023, and flight capacity is really at the same level it's been all year, about 20% below 2019 levels. So looking for growth in flights and counting on that as a growth engine, I think is a bad strategy. And another indication that the recovery is over and you have to fight for everything you get is looking at arrivals. So if you look at 2023 arrivals here in the third quarter coming into fourth quarter, after July across a lot of markets, the number peaked, and it's beginning to either flatten or even decline in some important markets. So looking at Singapore arrivals, they have peaked in July. August is lower than July. September is lower than August. And I think I just saw October numbers also lower than September. So really a concerning trend. Maybe not only having to fight it out for the little bit of growth that's there, but there may even be
to hold the business, right? We're hearing that from a lot of destinations, even Singapore, which is always kind of leading the way in the room rates and so forth. But a lot of the hotels are really concerned about the situation.
So 2024 looking like a fight. Also wanted to throw some data from Bali. So Bali had the same trend as Singapore. So in July, the number peaked. And we've seen a decline month over month, August to July, a decline month over month, September to August. So really concerning, actually, as we head into 2024, and more reason for all of us to be quite conservative as we think about what's our forecast. And your plan needs to be towards how are you going to compete and win versus how am I going to ride the wave of growth?
Wave, correct. Yeah, definitely. It makes it much more challenging, right, on all sides. Yeah, that's for sure.
So number one for me is let's retire 2019. Number two is it's going to be a fight for growth as we move into 2024. Be very conservative with your 2024 forecasts. And number three, a bit of good news is China will finally reach its potential.
Okay, we've been waiting, right?
Yes, we've been talking about the return. For us, we assumed actually the China volume would return, I think, originally in the end of 2022. Didn't happen. So we're like, okay, it's going to be 2023. 2023 has largely been a disappointment. But 2024, I'm going to tell you, is going to be the year when it's really finally going to happen.
But at the beginning or at the end?
It's going to build throughout the year, but my prediction would be by the end of fourth quarter, we're going to be back close to, hate to be the last one to use it, but it's still 2023 pre-pandemic levels.
Yeah. Okay.
So quick quiz for you on China and how important it is which Southeast Asian city has the most direct air service into more Chinese cities? This
is quite tough, right? Because these aren't necessarily the top cities, right?
For anyone here watching, if you know the answer to this, you can put the number in chat. Demas will be watching it. 1 for Nha Trang, 2 for Kota Kinabalu, 3 for Bali. We'll throw you a free MG T-shirt, get some MG swag. So if you know the answer before William takes his guess, jump in chat.
Malaysia has the most arrivals, right? And then KK is a very popular destination for Chinese going to Malaysia. Indonesia has the least arrivals, right, out of the three.
But Bali's a big destination.
It's quite big compared to Jakarta. Vietnam, I think it's much more spread. It has the least arrivals, but they're spread over Ho Chi Minh.
That's a really small second-tier city, though.
I don't know, though. A lot of leisure travel, right?
Bali is like a global kind of tourism landmark.
I don't know. It's a very tough one. Could be either three.
All right, let's go. Let's see. So this is some data on the number of Chinese cities with direct routes by destination, listing some of the major Southeast Asian cities. So Singapore just crushes it. Service into 25 different Chinese cities. Direct service into 25 different Chinese cities. And you can go down the list, going from Singapore, Bangkok, KL, Phuket. But let's find our three contenders there in the question. We have Nha Trang at, I think it's around 7. Oh, yeah. Kota Kinabalu at 7. And Bali at 5.
Okay, in the train.
So really surprising that those two cities that are relatively not kind of the first destination you think of. You think of Malaysia or Vietnam, have more direct service than Bali. So,
and Bali's only 5, yeah. So it's still very, very small.
Lots to come. And Just kind of throwing out, kind of flying through some of the direct service. It's just amazing. So this is kind of a list of the Chinese cities with direct route service to Singapore. So 25 different direct routes, and you look at the frequency. Like Shanghai's 10 flights a day. So it's just a lot of volume already, and this is only going to build as we move into 2024. So good reason to be bullish. 21 direct service cities into Bangkok, 18 direct service cities into KL, 11 direct services into Phuket, 11 for Chiang Mai, 10 for Jakarta, 9 for Ho Chi Minh, 8 for Manila, 5 for Bali.
Yeah, for sure, this is going to grow, right? The frequencies will grow also. Yeah.
So China will ascend in 2024. Taking that same data and cutting it from a country perspective, so it looked like Singapore is really dominating at the city level. But if you take a look at the country level, Thailand way out in front, I think around 41 or 42 direct services if you combine all the airports, in particular Chiang Mai, Phuket, and Bangkok. Vietnam as well, really, really strong service into what's sure to be, the growth story of 2024. So if there is any recovery left in the global hospitality and travel industry,
It's coming from China.
It's coming from China in 2024. So that's it for my top three. I hope you think these are good ones.
Yeah. Interesting.
All right, let's go. Let's see what you got for your top three for 2024.
Well, we'll start off with number 4. Yeah, the B2B is the hotel owner's best friend, right?
So, B2B is the hotel owner's best friend. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at it in terms of this article that was recently written by Skift, which is very interesting. We have to remember, way back, hotel direct bookings accounted for 80% of the volume, 20, 30 years ago. And now what we can see, especially pointed out in this article, is that the indirect business accounts for more than 50%. So I think that indirect is still taking share versus direct. Some other key takeaways from this data is that for the direct bookings, it's 8 to 9% in terms of the cost of the booking. I think this is a bit misleading because this doesn't necessarily take into account the fees that chains are going to be charging on top of that for distribution. It doesn't necessarily, or not clear whether it takes into account the costly loyalty programs. If we look further down, you can see the B2B segments, which is 13% and 16% in terms of cost per booking. They're the lowest. So this is really, really good data to show that the B2B channels are costing the hotels less. Of course, that 16% isn't necessarily just going to one player, right? That's divided amongst 2, 3, or 5 levels of that distribution. So it's not necessarily that the B2B segment is greedy because it's taking that. It's been spread over multiple partners. On the OTA, on the other hand, it's been spread between the OTA themselves as their profits, but also as marketing costs, which is still hovering around 40-50% of their revenue. I think this is really, really interesting stuff.
I think B2B is the hotel owner's best friend. This is, I will use this in 2024. So this is a great that the bed bank or wholesale distribution channel is lower cost than the traditional or than the kind of growing B2C OTA channel. This is a great point for hoteliers to recognize. I think wholesale used to be kind of the biggest, the most expensive channel, but it was a way to get rid of inventory that you really needed to. But I think now you can view this B2B channel as, one, lower cost than OTA channel, and two, as a hedge against letting too much of your inventory come under control from 1 to 2
Yeah,
large
correct.
OTAs.
I mean, it's a way to work with a partner and get distribution out there without being dominated by 1 or 2 big players. Correct.
That's great. All right, I'm gonna give you 10 out of 10 on
Wow.
B2B is the hotel owner's best friend. It's a great one. What else you got?
Well, finally, I mean, we've been talking about it for years, but I really do believe that rate parity is now dead. We're still seeing some of the big global chains holding on to this, and they're continuing to adopt, especially in the B2C environment. But in the B2B environment, I think a lot of hotels are taking a much more pragmatic approach to distribution, and that what they're looking at is actually how much money they're taking through from that channel. So therefore, they're making different decisions about what inventory goes through which channel remains active. They're making much more clever decisions, not necessarily based on who's selling the most or who gives the most commission, but what's their take rate for selling those rooms through the different channels.
So, why do you think rate parity has never achieved its objective? It's at least 20 years old now. Well, I see you have 2003 to 2023. Yeah, I mean, it's that older, but still.
In many countries, the clause is actually illegal or it's against competition rules. So particularly in destinations like Europe, it's not included in contracts anymore about best rate guarantee. But yeah, I mean, what we're seeing is even the big guys in terms of the OTA, they are not respecting that kind of rate parity. They're trying to sell the rooms at the cheapest possible price to attract the customers. So it's becoming tougher, I'd say, in terms of being able to manage or control or police that kind of rate parity. So yeah, I think it's getting very difficult, and the hotels are becoming much more smart. They're understanding better what's important, and what's important is how much they're getting paid for the room, right? It's not necessarily what commissions they're giving.
So, in loving memory of rate parity, RIP 2003 to 2023.
Yeah,
so
we're done. We're done. So we're done with 2019, and we're done with rate parity.
All right. Good night. Good night. What else?
I think AI. I mean, everybody's talking about it, but what I really do believe is that AI and travel is a really good fit. Why? Because travel is, and especially the distribution part, is really an online digital service. So we're not storing things in warehouses. We're not delivering things. It's purely an online transaction, right? So that kind of fits really, really well into AI, and it means you can deploy that AI in all areas of the business, right? When it comes to education, to educating the customers, through data analysis, through individual pricing, like for individual people, because each individual person will have their own travel assistant. Automation, so helping firms and companies automate, giving them advice on how they can automate and reduce costs, as well as the smart bots, in terms of how to handle customers or customer service.
Are there some of these that are more important in 2024? I mean, I've been openly critical of travel companies talking about AI at some external events, just that every time I go to a conference, someone talks about it, they're talking about it, but no one's really doing anything. Or the things they're doing are very superficial. Some of the OTAs launched Chat GPT plugins.
Yeah.
Really not changing anything. So I've been somewhat skeptical. But in 2024, are there certain areas where you think it really begins to get real?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, this AI is moving at such a fast pace, right? Recently, there's news that the AI can now solve maths problems that it hasn't been exposed to. So the speed is really real, and the impact is going to be much more real on travel distribution than the internet, and that was massive, right? So I think from here, what we can really try to access is the data analysis that can help in terms of all areas of the business, whether it be pricing, whether it's which destinations you need to negotiate, where you're getting the biggest demand. And historically, you would need a kind of data analyst to really dig in, or to create these big data programs to actually understand what the data meant. But I think with AI, it would be much more like a human interface where you can just ask questions and that the AI will get it and they'll give you the answer. So you don't need to invest in a big team or big software. You can just have the data, and then you can access that through the AI interface to deliver you meaningful action points.
All right, so 2024 focus for implementing AI.
We've got to do it. MG's going to do it too.
Data and analysis.
Yeah.
All right, I'm with you. All right, I think that wraps up the 6 items. So we got 6. I will just summarize what they were. I had 2019 is finally retired. Hope so. It's going to be a fight for growth going forward as that up and to the right curve begins to flatten or even soften, as we saw in the last few months. China will finally get there in 2024 by fourth Q, back to normal levels. B2B is your best friend. I love that one, considering where we are. Will Hales RIP to rate parity.
Yeah, we're done.
And finally begin to see AI have some real impacts in the travel industry.
Yeah.
It's a great list.
Yeah, it's cool. And looking forward to 2024. Yeah. It's going to be a tough fight, as you say. I mean, that's the most important thing. There's no more rebound. There's no more recovery. It is what it is. And we just have to find ways to find that growth, right?
Yep. Let's keep the growth going in 2024.
Yeah.
All right.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.